Hey, it's Bernard here. In this video, we are going to analyze every fight of Zuffa Boxing 5, especially from a betting perspective. So, let's go for it. In the main event of this card, we have Andres Cortes at plus 100. Here we have 100 plus 10 odds as the underdog, and Eridson Garcia at minus 144 as the favorite. So a little bit of context about this fight. This is a 10 round fight, and the big storyline is that Cortes is moving up to 135 for this new Zuffa Boxing run. Garcia comes in with a strong recent result over Taigai Managa, and that probably explains why he opened as the favorite here. So right away, we've got an interesting setup. Undefeated fighter moving up in a weight class against the naturally longer men with more reach and some momentum. Here we can quickly see the box rec. We have Andres Cortes, 24 wins, 0 losses, still undefeated. And then we have Eridson Garcia, who lost one time in 2023. And then he have like a, let's say, a big winning streak. And he had that win in his last fight against Taigai Managa in the Riyadh season event. That probably explains why he's the favorite on this odd. This is my first video breaking down bets in English, so please bear with me, as normally I'm used to do it in Spanish. Be patient in these 2-3 videos, then I will get more flow for sure. And the important thing is making money. Everything else is just not that important. So let's now talk deeply about Andres Cortes. He looks like more stable and a more consistently active fighter coming into this fight. He has shown that he can win different types of fights, not just with stoppages or knockout, but also he can win over 10 rounds on the scorecards. He can win fights by points. I think that matters a lot here, that he's not only the type of fighter that he can like finish inside the distance, and he's also the fighter that he can fight a bit smart, although his style is aggressive, and win by points, or try that strategy in the fights where this matter more. And I think that this is the kind of matchup where he don't really need to force an early finish, and he should like be smart. A little bit of cons, or what weaknesses I can see here. So here the obvious concern is like the move up in the weight class, because now he's giving up size and especially reach. Garcia has around a 6-inch reach advantage, and that could make Cortes work much harder to win the rounds cleanly. Also, in a normal situation or in a normal case, the most obvious thing is that as he's going up in the division, like his power is not gonna be the same at 135. And then his margin for error or for mistakes get smaller in a higher class division. The key insight that I see for Cortes is that best path here for him looks like a composed boxing performance and not a knockout fight or be too much obsessed with the knockout. He will probably win this fight by being cleaner, more consistent, and making better decisions over the full 10 rounds. So if you like Cortes, you are really betting on discipline and scoring more than pure damage. On the other side, we have Eridson Garcia. Let's remember the quotes. Eridson Garcia as the favorite at minus 144. And if you are watching me from an Euro country where we use decimal quotes, that would be Garcia odd will be 1.69 and Cortes is 2.10 if we translate to decimal odds instead of the American style. So, pros for Garcia is that he has the physical advantage, and that's the first thing that stands out. He's slightly taller and he has the big reach edge. He also has decent knockout numbers. So on paper, he does look like the more naturally dangerous puncher here. And the Imanaga win gives him credibility, especially because he took that fight on short notice and still got the result. Sorry, let me change the screen to Eridson Garcia. Here we see Eddie Hearn signing Tom Aspinall. Funny. Okay. Let's go now with the cons. The big issue for Garcia is the activity. He hasn't been as consistently active, and that can matter a lot in a 10-round main event. His his fight record, his boxing record is also not clearly stronger than Cortes. So I'm not sure he should automatically be like the favorite just because of the recent momentum. I don't really agree with the odds that much. I think like the line should be more closed. So yeah, here is where the lines get interesting because the market may be leaning too hard into the upside version of Garcia. So Garcia, in this case, he should take advantage of his size, of his reach, and get used to the idea that he can control the range of the fight. If he wins, it probably comes from keeping Cortes at the end of his shots and landing like the more eye-catching punches. But if he doesn't clearly control the distance, this fight could look much closer round by round than the favorite price and the odds are suggesting. So now let's go into the odds and the betting angle. Overall, this looks like a competitive fight where Garcia has the physical edge, but Cortes may be the more reliable round by round boxer. At minus 144, I'm not sure Garcia gives enough value because this doesn't look like a fight where he should be comfortably favored. My lean here is Andres Cortes at plus 110. because if this turns into the technical longer fight, it looks like on paper the underdog side becomes appealing. So the most likely shape of the fight is a measured technical fight that goes deep into the rounds. So the fight to go to the distance at minus 160 makes sense, and stylistically that's probably the most logical read for this matchup. If you want a more specific angle, Cortes by decision at plus 130 lines up much better with his likely winning path than any stoppage prop. So, final note, Garcia by knockout at plus 140 feels a bit too dependent on Cortes not handling the move up on the weight division well. Cortes by knockout at plus 410 also feels less likely than a points win. So the cleanest value angle for me here it's Cortes money line at plus 110, and the sharper prop angle would be Cortes by decision at plus 230. But for me, as we have like value in Cortes as the underdog at plus 110, for me my pick is gonna be like Cortes, and we can just focus on the money line. So in the co-main event we have Magsayo at minus 1,450 against Feargal McCrory as the underdog at plus 620. And if you're watching me from a country that use decimal odds, that would be Magsayo at 1.07 as the super big favorite, and McCrory super big underdog at 7.20. So let's talk a little bit about the context of this fight. This is the co-main event. This is a 10-round fight at the lightweight. And the biggest story here is also that Magsayo is also making his move up to 135. Unlike some other names on this card, Magsayo is a proven fighter with real top-level experience, including a world title run and fights against serious opposition. McCrory comes in as the underdog, but he's awkward, he's a southpaw, he's got reach, and he's the kind of guy who can make a fight uncomfortable if you let him settle. Magsayo is clearly the more proven fighter here. He has fought at a much higher level with names like Gary Russell Jr., Ray Vargas, and Brandon Figueroa. He also has the stronger power profile on paper with 18 knockouts in 28 wins, and overall he's just the more explosive athlete in this matchup. Experience matters here as well. He has 180 pro rounds compared to McCrory with 80 rounds fought in professional boxing, and that's a massive gap in terms of seasoning and the flow that you get in the rounds when you have like many rounds of professional boxing. The cons here, the big con here is not that Magsayo is the favorite, is that at minus 1,450 you are paying a huge premium. So this is not really a clean money line betting spot, obviously. He's also moving up in weight, and although that may suit his body better long term, we still need to see how that looks in real time at 135. McCrory's southpaw stance and reach could make Magsayo work harder than the line suggests, especially if this turns into a more patient technical fight. Key insight is that Magsayo is the better fighter, the more dangerous fighter, and the more proven fighter. That part is clear. The real question is not whether he should win, but whether he dominates enough to justify such a wide line. So this is more about method and fight shape than simply picking the winner. On the other side, McCrory has a couple of things that can at least make this interesting. He's a southpaw, he has a 4-inch reach advantage, and he tends to be willing to fight in messy spots. He bounced back well from the Lamont Rhodes loss by stopping Keenan Carvajal, and that at least shows some toughness and resilience. Stylistically, long southpaws can always be annoying if they establish a range early and force the favorite and the opponent to reset. The cons here, the big problem is like the level gap. This is like such a big gap in the level. McCrory has not operated anywhere near the level of Magsayo. The level of opponents that Magsayo has already seen and he's already used to. And he's also coming off long layoffs, and the activity is a concern when you are facing the sharper, more explosive, and more battle-tested fighter that he's also having like more competition activity than you. On top of that, his only real step up against Lamont Rhodes ended in a stoppage loss. As we see here, it was in June 2024. So it's like the first time that he like faced like a really high level, really top level, he lost. So it's a fact that we should consider in our betting decision. Key insights for McCrory is that his path to victory is not about like being better overall. It's about making this awkward, long, and annoying. If he has success, it probably comes from using the southpaw look, the reach, and forcing Magsayo into a less comfortable rhythm. But if Magsayo starts timing him clean, the physical and class difference could show pretty quickly. So now let's go to conclusion, odds, and pick. This is one. Let's come back to the odds. Okay. This is one of those fights where the side looks obvious, but the market makes the decision less attractive from a betting point of view. due to the odd, like, doesn't really worth it. Magsayo should absolutely be favored here based on class, record, power, and overall experience, but the minus 1,150 is obviously very steep. My pick is still Magsayo, the Filipino fighter, but this is much more a prop fight than a straight money line fight. My betting red is that the market is telling you that Magsayo probably wins, and probably wins inside the distance, and that feels correct. Here we have like Magsayo, KO, TKO, or DQ at minus 195 looks much more logical than the money line, because if he wins cleanly, stoppage is a very live outcome. The fight not to go to distance at minus 205 also makes sense, especially with Magsayo's power edge and McCrory already having been stopped by Roach at a lower weight. Then if you want a more aggressive red, Magsayo to win in rounds 6 to 10 at plus 165 is also interesting. That lines up with the idea that McCrory's awareness and reach might help him to survive early, but over time Magsayo's class and power could break him down. Magsayo rounds 1 to 5 at plus 240 is also live, but the later round angle might offer a better balance between logic and price. Final note, McCrory decision at plus 1000 feels very unlikely, unless Magsayo looks flat, too patient, or completely uncomfortable at the weight. McCrory knockout at plus 1,700 is obviously huge, but it's hard to build a serious case for it based on the level difference. So the cleanest angle for me is Magsayo, but KO, TKO, DQ at plus 195, with Magsayo rounds 6 to 10 at plus 165 as the more selective value play. So that's it. Let's go for the third fight of the main card, which is Azat Hovhannisyan versus Eduardo Baez. We have Hovhannisyan as the favorite at minus 215 and Eduardo Baez as the underdog at plus 154. If you are following the decimal odds, then it would be Hovhannisyan at 1.47 and Eduardo Baez at 2.54. So, a little bit of context about this fight. This will be the fight that opened the main card, and it feels like a classic close roads fight between two experienced guys who have both already been tested at a decent level. Neither of these men is being built up as some fresh prospect, so this is more about who still has enough left to stay relevant in the division. The market has Hovhannisyan as the favorite, but not by an overwhelming margin, which makes sense because both men have damage, losses, and clear flaws at this stage. They are, let's say, not in the prime time of their careers. Hovhannisyan, here we have 22-6, won last fight, but then he had like 3 losses in a row. Against like big names, that being said. So he's the more dangerous puncher on paper and the one more likely to force the tempo. With 17 knockouts, 22 wins, his profile is built around pressure, damage, and making fights uncomfortable. He's also coming off a win over previously unbeaten Aidos Medet, so at least he comes in with a bit of momentum and not completely dead form. Cons, he's 37 now, and that matters a lot in a fight built around pressure and physicality. He has lost 3 of his last 5, and once a pressure fighter starts slipping physically, the decline can show pretty quickly. At minus 215, you also have to ask whether the market is pricing the current version of Azat or the more dangerous version from a few years ago. Key insight: Azat's case is pretty simple. He needs to make this fight hard, physical, and uncomfortable. If he's the one dictating exchanges and pushing Baez backwards, the favorite case makes sense. But if the pace slows down and this turns into a cleaner boxing match, his price starts looking a little bit less attractive. Now let's analyze Eduardo Baez. Fantástico, his nickname. Pros for Baez: he looks like the more technical and more measured boxer in the matchup, and that gives him a credible underdog case. He has much less raw stopping power, but he may be the one better suited to picking moments, boxing in spots, and making the fight clear than Azat wants. At plus 154, he doesn't need to be the better fighter overall. He just needs to make this more tactical and more competitive than the market specs. Cons: his recent form is not great. He has lost 4 of his last 5. There we see. And losing like 4 of his last 5, that makes it hard to trust him too heavily, even at dog money. He was also stopped by Navarrete and by Jan Santana, so there are real concerns if this turns into a sustained pressure fight, which is like the style that his opponent likes. And if he can control rhythm, he might spend too much time reacting instead of actually winning rounds. Key insight: Baez pass is clearly the cleaner path. Box with discipline, avoid getting dragged into a brawl, and let Azat's age and pressure style work against him over time. He's not the side you want if this turns ugly early, but if this becomes a scrappy but scoreable fight rather than a war, Baez has a better chance than the money line initially suggests. Now let's go deep into the odds. This feels like one of those fights where the favorite makes sense, but the price is not quite clean enough to feel automatic. Hovhannisyan should probably be favored because of the pressure, power and ability to force the action, but there are enough age and decline questions to stop this from being a comfortable chalk spot. My lean is still Azat Hovhannisyan, but as the more logical side than as a must bet money line. So I'm picking him he's like for me the pure pick or the logical pick, but I don't see like that much value in the line. The interesting part here is that the distance market is basically a split here for will the fight go to the distance? Yes, minus 116, no, minus 110, which tell you that the books see a pretty balanced fight in terms of, give me a second, the books are seeing a very balanced fight, as I was saying, in terms of like finish risk. That makes sense because Azat has the more dangerous style, but both fighters are experienced enough that this could also become a tougher, slower 10-round fight than people expect. So this is not one of those spots where I would rush straight into the inside the distance angle just because one guy has more knockouts. Azat KO, TKO, DQ plus 155 is interesting because if he wins clearly, that is probably the path that makes the most sense. Azat points plus 210 is also live, especially if age means he pressure without quite getting the finish. On the dog side, Baez points plus 350 is more logical than Baez KO plus 130 because his best case is clearly a technical, frustrating type of fight. So, final note, this feels more like a fight shape red than a strong side. If you like Azat, the better conversation is probably money line versus knockout prop because his price is a bit steep for a fighter with mileage. If you want the dog, Baez by decision plus 350 is probably the sharpest underdog angle. Give me a second, please. I lost my big screen where I have all the data there. That's what I look at the left side because there I have like everything more structured and it's easier for me to communicate and try to transmit the information properly. So if you like Azat, the better conversation is probably money line, better than knockout prop, because his price is a bit steep for a fighter with his mileage. And if you want the dog, Baez by decision, plus 350 is probably the sharpest underdog angle because that matches the exact type of fight he would need. So yeah, I think I like both, but I'm gonna pick Baez by decision plus 350 in terms of like just like seeing the value on the odd, the value on the line makes sense. But for me, it's gonna be my pick is gonna be Azat. The Azat Hovhannisyan money line plus 215 is the most interesting angle for me here. But a more selective prop would be Azat by KO, TKO or DQ at plus 155. And yes, an underdog value angle could be Eduardo Baez by points or decision at plus 350. So that's it. This is the end of the main card. So I'm gonna stop here because I'm not that used to talk about these technical things in English. And I'm gonna start the channel. If the video gets some views, I might analyze the prelim card tomorrow. Let's say like Saturday. So the event is on Sunday. Saturday I will do it. Or if not, see you for the next Zuffa Boxing event where I will have more time to prepare, because now I just came up with the idea in starting the channel in English this week. And then for next event or next time, I'll have like more time to prepare, and for sure I will analyze the full card in one time. So thank you for watching the video. Subscribe, give it a like, let me know anything in the comments. Maybe if I will add some links if you want to follow me in Instagram or other social media. And see you in the next videos.